Now I'm gonna take my pull through and I'm actually gonna go all the way through the pinwheel, which I did a terrible job videoing for you. There we go. I'm gonna thread it all the way through because I need this string to be closer to the tail braid. Sometimes you get lucky, you roll it up and that's where it ends, but this time I didn't, so I had to sew it through. And then I'm gonna take my pull through, I'm actually gonna go through the braid that's against his tail and thread the string through. And then I'm gonna find it underneath. I'm gonna pull the string all the way out. I'm gonna get all those hairs away from the string. I'm gonna split my two strings. They're coming through the bottom of the braid. And then I'm gonna do my surgeon's knot. So I'm gonna wrap it around 2 times. Whoops, guess I messed that up. 1 and 2. And that just gives you a nice tight secure knot. So when you pull it tight, you don't have to hold it. And I'm gonna straighten my pinwheel out. I'm gonna go underneath and then I'm gonna tie it off again. This is just to make sure it's not going anywhere. You want it nice and tight and secure. I'm gonna cut my strings here. Something you need to watch for the little pieces of tail that were left over from your pinwheel. Sometimes they stick out a little funny. So these are actually cooperating fairly well. You could leave it just like that if you wanted to. I'm not going to. I'm gonna tie this pinwheel up against the braid. It's gonna secure it a little bit more. So I'm gonna go through the braid with a different piece of string. I use 2 just for a little security. Then I'm gonna take my pull through and I'm gonna thread it through the pinwheel. I'm gonna pull my strings through. Oops, at that time one of them fell out. It might be easier to have a little bit longer piece of string than what I'm using here. I'm using the scrap. If you still have cut yarn, you could use that too. Might be a little longer. All right, so I'm gonna pull that through. You wanna be careful when you do it that you don't pull the other end out. So I'm gonna go through there again, so I get string on the other side. Careful not to get hair in there. There we go, and see that just pulls it up right against the tail. It's just a little bit more secure. I think it's neater. And then I'm just gonna tie a few knots to secure it. And then I can cut my excess. Again, careful not to cut any hair. You wanna keep as much tail hair as you can. So now that I've secured it, see those extra pieces are hanging much more neatly. They're not sticking out funny. It looks good. Good on both sides. So there's your almost finished tail. We have one more step. The last thing we're gonna do is put a little bit of yarn up at the top. And this is just to kind of ensure that none of the hairs are gonna come out. Because we started with the 2 little braids, that's not likely to happen. But just to be sure, we tie a little bit of yarn up here. You just go through and tie it off. I usually use 2 pieces like this. And then you just give it a little snip. And there it is, your finished tail braid. Finished with a pinwheel. I will admit that I did not wash his tail first, so it's a little bit dirty. It is easiest with a nice clean tail. There's that little piece of yarn that we were talking about before. I'm not gonna get crazy since we're just practicing today. But it's pretty straight. You can see where it twists. That's nice, Eros. Put your tail down. Okay, you can see where it twisted just a little bit right here, and that's where he was really ticklish. Sometimes that happens. You do the best you can. But all in all, it came out pretty good for having a dirty, ticklish tail. When you do your tail to show, you're gonna wrap it when you're finished to protect it. You don't want your horse rubbing its tail braid. It's very delicate and it's easy for them to pull out a lot of hair when they're braided like this. The best tail wrap to use is an ace bandage soaked in water before you put it on, and that will keep your hair protected and keep their tail protected. Another important thing, when you braid a tail to horse show, you don't want it in any longer than it absolutely has to be. So you're going to try to braid it, if you're doing it yourself, as close to your class as possible. If not, you just keep it wrapped until you show, and as soon as you're done showing for the day, that tail needs to come out. Just like the mane, you're going to get it really, really wet and then unbraid it so it won't be all crimped when you're finished. And that's it for today. That's your hunter tail braid.